Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Jamaica 411. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have a special treat for you. This is the Don Anderson interview that was conducted on Nationwide News Network today, April 30, 2024. I think you'll enjoy it. And there is a surprising revelation at the end. I will make further comments when that time comes along, when the interview ends. I'll say something about it, and I'll invite you to tell me what you really think about that revelation that was made today. It was cleverly asked by Cliff Hughes, very disarming, very innocent sounding, but we got the answer that we wanted. And I want you to tell me what you think about it, all right? So, for my regular viewers and subscribers, welcome back. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. You're here with me all the time, keeping me company. You're not allowing me to feel a little lonely. And you've been sharing and you've also been leaving your comments. I do appreciate it because I want to know, what you're thinking and so on. And then we can interact. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome, welcome. And please don't be a stranger. Please consider subscribing to my channel, or beg your pardon, I should actually say our channel, because, without you, this channel will be nothing, as well as I know you appreciate the information that you're getting. So please consider to subscribe. Also, please remember to share, because without the message going out, persons won't be able to know what it is that we are talking about over here. Also, please consider leaving your comments. Let me know what you think about that special piece of revelation that's coming at the end. And I'm telling you, when you hear it, as a matter of fact, I don't know if you'd be surprised, but it's certainly something that we are learning. I'm learning for the first time. So I'm going to let you listen to Cliff Hughes interviewing Don Anderson now, and then I'll be back to have a few more words, and then I'll close off. So let's listen.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Well, before we get into our next segment on the Don Anderson polls, we have just been handed a letter from the opposition People's National Party surrounding the appointment of the acting director of public prosecutions. Siobhan?
Yes, according to that letter, it says legal action surrounding the appointment of the acting director of public prosecutions dated April 30, 2024. It says the People's National Party, PNP, informs the public that its attorneys at law, having written to the Public Service Commission to request clarity concerning the specific basis on which an acting director of public prosecutions, DPP, has been appointed. Hilton Powell, attorneys at law representing Philip Paulwell and Peter Bunting, have sent a detailed letter to Mrs. Patricia Sinclair McCullough, CDJP, chairperson of the Public Service Commission, requesting clarification on the specific basis for the appointment of the acting DPP following the ruling by the full court on April 19, 2024.
And it ends following two other paragraphs where the PNP will continue to closely monitor this situation and expects a clear and prompt response from the Public Service Commission to address what it is calling these vital legal questions. So it has written to the Public Service Commission seeking clarity. Yes, specific clarity. Yeah, it says request clarity concerning the specific basis on which an acting director of public prosecutions has been appointed. All right? Now, a poll commissioned by the PNP and published in Tuesday's edition of the Gleaner newspaper shows the opposition with a significant lead over the governing Jamaica Labour Party. The poll was commissioned by the PNP and conducted by Don Anderson's Market Research Services Limited between April 4 and 12, and it was conducted among persons 18 and older.
It canvassed the views of 1,057 respondents and has a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. It shows that if a general election was called shortly, the PNP would get the support of 36.8% of respondents. The GLP would get the support of 29% of respondents.
All right, we have the pollster joining us. By the way, the margin of error, you did say 3%?
Yes, 3%.
Right, and according to the poll, 19.1% of the respondents say they are undecided, and 15% say they would not vote. Yes? Don Anderson joins us now. Good evening, Don.
Good evening to you. How are you all doing?
We are good. And you?
I'm good.
Good. And of course, whenever there's a poll like this, you get the standard responses. Those who are in favor of the findings, who find favor of the findings, think you are the best thing in the world, and those who don't say you're the worst thing in the world, without credibility and all kinds of issues. We're not going down that road. I'm going to go down the road. Give me some clarity in the numbers. First of all, a 7.8 percentage lead is a massive lead. If this were a general election result, this means that the PNP would be winning in a landslide. Isn't that so?
Um, I kind of don't venture down that road because, constituency size is very significantly. And it's not always easy to project from a percentage lead to a seat count of the 63. But it would be a comfortable win for sure, based on that 7.8% gap.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I want you to clear up, Don, when was the last time any poll you did showed either party being 8 points ahead?
I could tell you very easily. In 2022, we did one that had the Jamaica Labour Party 13 percentage points ahead. Carefully, 13 percentage points.
That was in 2022?
2022.
Uh-huh.
And I must make the point also that in 2020 July, before the 2020 election, we had the Jamaica Labour Party 16 percentage points ahead. What was the outcome?
The JLP won.
Right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
All right. Okay.
Good.
And in 2022, they were still ahead by 13 percentage points.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So,
Mm-hmm. But now, in terms of the PNP's polling, yes, since those numbers that you just relayed, 2020 July and 2022, this is one of the best performances for the PNP over those years.
Oh, absolutely sure. As a matter of fact, let me just say that between 2016, let's go back to 2016, just prior to the election in that year, and 2022, we conducted 7 national polls. All of them actually for the Lena RGR group. 7 national polls. The average lead by the Jamaica Labour Party in those 7 polls was 10 percentage points, rising to a high of 16 in 2020. 13 in 2012. So the average lead was 10 percentage points. Now, since 2023, when we began to see a change in the landscape, the People's National Party has had a lead in about 3 of the 5 polls that we have done. But this is the largest lead they have had in the last 18 months that we've been polling. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And according to the findings, Mr. Anderson, the PNP still seem to command that lead on the basis of the older demographic rather than the youngers, correct?
That is correct. But there was a poll in late 2023 that had the People's National Party actually doing pretty well in the 18 to 24 age cohort. All right? But the thing that one needs to note carefully is that this is a segment, the age cohort, that is least likely to vote.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, and therefore, when you have a a substantial lead in that particular category doesn't necessarily translate into and feed into an overall national lead.
Yes, but according to this poll, you're now seeing that the younger 18 to 24 are now breaking evenly,
Exactly.
contrary to previous polling when they were going for the Labour Party.
Exactly. And then when you look across the older age groups, they are again predominantly People's National Party, which is part of the traditional kind of support that the PNP gets.
Yes. I'm interested, Don, in terms of who would vote. By these numbers, is it correct that you'd have a voter turnout of about 65%?
You know, voter intention in a poll is generally higher than the actual turnout. And this we substantiated again in the last local government election, where based on all the polls we were doing, there was an anticipation of upwards of 36% turnout, but it turned out to be 29%. All right, so you know there are all kinds of factors that prevent those who say they're going to go out to vote to actually go out to vote. And therefore, what you really need to look at is not the standalone polls, but the trend in the support, which is absolutely the more important measure of likely outcome in an election.
Right.
Mr. Anderson, a poll is mostly reflective of the period of time in which it was conducted, and this was done between April 4 and April 12. So this is well after the budget debates, and that shows the PNP ahead significantly despite what we would consider the goodies that the JLP administration handed down during that period of time. Is it to suggest then that these are not impacting or not having the impact that the governing JLP would have liked?
That is that possibility. But again, until people see the reality of these changes in their pockets and in their households and are able to go out and buy and take care of their daily household needs, these don't impact them, you know. You see? When you talk in terms of factors that keep people away from voting, a lot of people say that a lot of promises are made by politicians that aren't fulfilled, both parties, you know? And therefore, you have to be clear that you would expect a sort of knee-jerk reaction. The budget is presented, there are all kinds of goodies that are being offered, and people are going to change their minds immediately. And I say so against the background of the fact that the poll was conducted 6 weeks after the People's National Party enjoyed a significant swing in the local government elections in February. You know, so what I believe is happening also is that there is a kind of momentum with the People's National Party, and as a result, a kind of bandwagon effect where people are saying, boo boy, the PNP is looking decent, you know, maybe I could really go out and vote for them. So these are factors that are impacting that 7.8% lead by the People's National Party, which, as you all say, and we all agree, is the largest gap the People's National Party has enjoyed in almost 10 years of polling.
Apart from that, what you call the bandwagon effect of February 26, what else are you picking up as to what are the contributing factors to the surge in PNP support?
There's been a number of events that have dented the kind of confidence that the voting public has had in the Jamaica Labour Party, starting from January. The whole question of the salary increases that were given still hangs, as far as we are seeing, over the heads of the support for the Jamaica Labour Party. And there are a number of other situations which have not endeared the party to the general public to the extent that they would have liked. And when you compare all of that to the momentum that the PNP gained in the 2020, the recently concluded election, these are factors that are driving support. Maybe emotional at the moment, but we won't know until we do another 1, 2, 3 months from now to see if this pattern holds. If this pattern holds, then obviously there is greater concern for the Jamaica Labour Party.
Tell me, people are asked you, did you really canvass why people are saying PNP as against JLP now? Did you ask that?
Yeah, man. Sure, we do have a lot of information as to how people why they would vote. Let me just look at the support for the People's National Party. Very interestingly, when we asked that 36%, why would you vote for the People's National Party? What are the things that are saying? 44% of the persons that, first of all, they gave a range of answers. And none of these was prompted. In other words, we said, why are you going to vote for the People's National Party? Why are you going to vote for the Jamaica Labour Party? And we captured verbatim comments from each set of people, different sets of people. 44% said they would vote for the PNP because they look after the poor. Very interesting.
Yes.
Because I made the point earlier that between the 1989 and 2006 period of dominance of the People's National Party, the party was identified as the party for the poor. Now that faded away between 2006 and now. Kind of sort of party loyalty was the principal factor. Now we're seeing in the last two polls that they're now being referred to again as the party for the poor, larger single factor contributing to the support for them.
44%.
44%. So we had 39% would say the party with the best track record of managing the country.
Oh.
Yep. 39%. And we had 15% who say it involves the citizens in decision making. 18% say they have better social programs. 17% now give you traditional party support as their reason. And 13% say the party is now organized.
Yes.
So there's the perception that the party is more united and more organized. And these are factors that are contributing to the support for the People's National Party, that's 36%. Right?
And I'm sure, what did they give for supporting the JLP?
Why are they going to support the JLP? Let me get to that data very quickly. 45% say they have the country's best interest at heart. Again, it's of that 29%, we need to note, because we take it for granted, but it's two separate sets of people. So you could very well get the same responses for each. But we did. 45% said the JLP had the country's best interest at heart. 40% said they are better able to manage the country's economic situation. 35% said it's a party that I support traditionally. So I'm going to just vote for them because I always do so. 26% said it provided more jobs and employment. So we have the situation where the macro picture is indicating that the unemployment level is at its lowest. All right. 22% said they're more organized party. And 17% say they have young people with good vision and initiative. So these are the primary reasons. There are others, but these are the most important factors that were identified as the reasons people support the Jamaica Labour Party.
So, Sir Anderson, the top reasons still essentially remain economic.
Best interest at heart and better able to manage the country's economic situation. Over 40% in either case.
Well. So, you're going back out in the field in 2 months?
I haven't been commissioned yet. But I'm pretty sure that, they're the interested parties either way who would want to know what the current situation is at that point in time. But there are no immediate plans to go back out into the field.
Yes. Does the JLP ask you to do polls, Don? I noticed the PNP does a lot of asking. Does the JLP ask you?
Let me just make the point. In the 20s, we have done polls for the Jamaica Labour Party in specific constituencies quite recently as well. But we haven't done any nationals for them since 2016. And I must make the point that in 2016 election, we did an equal number of political polls for both parties. But that's the last time we've actually done a fair amount of work for the Jamaica Labour Party. It just so happens that the People's National Party comes to me. And I really don't care. Bottom line is that we are a professional organization and we get data and we report it as we get it.
Okay. And your sample size, 1,057, drawn from how many communities across the island?
Probably about 74 communities. I don't have the data in front of me, but it's a pretty widespread sample because we have to ensure that we capture the full breadth and length of the island, and we go into a significant number of electoral districts. Yep.
I saw a comment today, and I'm going to ask you this way.
Sure.
There are some areas that their political voting behavior is well established. Do you go into those so-called, let me use for a pejorative term that I'd rather not, but it captures the point, the garrisons, so the JLP garrison of Tivoli or the PNP garrison of Jungle. You go into those?
Of course. So how do we do that on a national level? but there are lots of constituency polls in which we go into central Kingston, West Kingston, etc. Even there, there's a need for information. Information is to guide decision making,
Yes.
And you really wouldn't want to make, take we know the situation and don't do, because you need to have information to guide your decision making. And so, yeah, obviously.
Right. Well, when you go into those areas, you have to pay a lot of attention to the sample size of how many you would pull in a Tivoli or a jungle.
The weighting, so to speak.
Yeah. How do you?
Let me not go too much into detail on that, because there's a special approach we take to deal with garrison communities that we have developed, but we stay within the boundaries of acceptable statistical derivatives to be able to get from these communities the kind of information or the kind of responses that we want in terms of response rates. All right, that's basically not the type of response, but the response rate. All right, but that's in a way a strategy that we have developed that we would be prepared to discuss at a different time.
A response rate meaning how many people actually complete the survey?
Yeah, that's response rate.
Oh, okay.
But we don't process any survey that's not complete.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Don Anderson, CEO of Market Research Services Limited. Thank you, Don.
Well, my friends, there you have it. Don Anderson revealed on Cliff Hughes' program today, April 30, 2024, that he does polling in garrisons. Now, I don't know what you think about that, but let me ask you a question. Why, unless he's specially asked by the person that commissions him to go into Trenchtown or go into Tivoli and find out what they think about some specific, I can understand that. But when you're going to be doing a national poll, what is the value of going into an area where you know that the political view is one-sided? What is the value of going into, say, Tivoli Gardens to poll 10 people? And then as a counter, I suppose, you go into Trenchtown and poll another 10 people. What's the value? What is the point? Or is it that you want a particular result, so you go into certain areas? What is more, to go into a place you would describe as a garrison would have to be a deliberate act. You would have to have the PD results, and you would look and see how persons voted in that particular PD, how many PNP, how many JLP, to know that, okay, so this is an area dominated by this party or dominated by that party, and you go in and you ask them for their opinion in a national poll, when what you really want, I should think, is a poll that is reflective of what may be the general opinion of people, right? You do have persons who are PNP and you do have persons who are JLP, but I would expect that you would want to have the general view. Catch them out into the Maypen, you catch them out into Otrios, you catch them into various areas that you'd want to go in the township where you might get a mix of people. I don't know, I'm just thinking, but to go into a specific area called a garrison where you know how the opinion of the people already, what would be the point of that? Unless you're trying to skew your poll in a certain direction. But he needs to come and clarify what it is that he's talking about. In addition to that, did any of you notice that Cliff Hughes asked whether or not the Jamaica Labour Party commissioned Don Anderson and what he said? Did you notice that he said that he has not done a poll for the JLP since 2016? Was I hearing right? Or you tell me, because your years then probably younger than mine. Was I hearing right? Why would the JLP not commission Don Anderson since 2016? I mean, they have not said anything bad about him, which is excellent, but it must be a reason. Perhaps they were using Bill Johnson. Well, Bill Johnson has died. I don't know if there's anybody running his poll now, but it is instructive, isn't it, that the JLP has not used Don Anderson. Instead, it's a PNP that has been using him since 2016. And I find that very curious. Now, he did say that polling is only about 3 to 5% of his business. He does marketing for companies. So if he were to stop polling, it wouldn't hurt his business in any way. But it goes to show, doesn't it? And also, RGR does commission him from time to time. But it's interesting, don't you think? Curious because I'm wondering if Don Anderson has not been doing the JLP's polls and Bill Johnson has been out of commission. Well, he died, I think, last year. Who's doing the JLP polls? You mean they're not doing any polls? Isn't that interesting? But I'm sure they must be doing polls. But I wonder who is doing their polls. Let me know what you think, though. All right, so I'm going to close for today, and I'll be doing another video for you hopefully soon. But until such time, you take good care of yourself and walk good.